Well, that did not go the way I expected. Hey, I am Chuck, the bureaucrat, and there's this question that has been bugging me for a really, really long time. That is, when is the best time to retire to optimize your pension? I always think of Master Sergeant Brown up in the 411th Field Artillery who said, as soon as you qualify for retirement, you're working for half pay. That didn't sit right with me, so I thought I'd dig into this a little bit. Now remember, there's 5 things that influence your pension. The first is your years of service. Then you've got a 2.5% multiplier. Next is the high 36 months of base pay. Then you get a partial COLA in the year that you retire, and every year after that, you get another COLA adjustment. For this discussion, I'm not going to concern myself at all with the cost of living adjustments, but if you want to know what the right month to retire is, check out this video. Okay, now back to Master Sergeant Brown's comment. What I want you to do is think back to the DFAST pay tables for your base pay, and remember that your base pay is determined by your years of service. What that means is serving longer doesn't just give you the 2.5% multiplier. It also helps boost your high 36 average months. But check this out. For a lieutenant colonel, their base pay stops getting years of service increases at 22 years of service. And for a colonel, it's 26 years. Now, for colonels, don't get fooled by that tiny increase that happens to your base pay at 30 years of service. That requires a deferment of the mandatory retirement, so I wouldn't use it for planning. Okay, so 3 years after your base pay flatlines, your high 36 months maxes out. That's at 25 years for lieutenant colonels and 29 years for colonels. But remember, I'm trying to optimize the pension. And so it's not just about how big the monthly pension is. It's about maximizing the total amount of money that I receive over my lifetime. And this is the part that blew my mind. See, if you're going to estimate the total amount of money that you're going to receive, you have to estimate your lifespan. So here's what I did. For a lieutenant colonel who's eligible to retire at age 42 with 20 years of service, I considered lifespans from 55 to 85. And not surprisingly, the longer you live, the better off you are serving beyond 20 years. But look how flat those curves are. Even for a colonel, you have to be expecting a long and happy retirement for all those extra years of service to actually pay off. When I showed you my career map, I made this comment about how there's a natural transition point for colonels that is just shy of 30 years. And here's why. It's because staying around for 1 or 2 extra years, it just doesn't make that much of a difference in your outcomes. And here's the real aha. 1 year of service is more than 2.5% of your retired lifetime if you live less than 40 years after retirement. Let me say that again. Assuming that you are going to live 40 years after you retire, if you serve 1 more year, you reduce the total amount of pension that you receive by 2.5%. And if all you got in exchange for that additional year was a 2.5% increase in your pension, that's why things are so flat. So when is the optimal time to retire? I think it's about the time that your high 36 average stops growing. At the end of the day, I feel like Master Sergeant Brown was onto something. Hey, I'm Chuck, the bureaucrat, and I gotta tell you, nobody sat me down and had this kind of conversation. And if this information is valuable to you, what I'd ask you to do is share it with others so that they can make the right decisions for their careers.